Hello, Jaguar students. It's your friendly neighborhood math teacher, Mr. Allred, and I'm so excited to welcome you here to Unit 7, menu lesson number 1. Unit 7 is all about angles, triangles, and polygons, and today we're going to get started with our foundation of knowledge talking about special angles. By the end of today's class, in small groups, you should be able to identify special angle relationships. So here we go. I already started to do this at the beginning of class, but this is, again, your week at a glance for the week of February 12th, 2018. Today's entry is your first entry in the table of contents. Let's get ready to go ahead and get started by taking some notes. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about 1, 2, 3 different angle relationships, and we're going to use a circle to help us understand that. A circle is made up of 360 degrees. All the way around is 360 degrees. Okay. And honestly, that's where a lot of these rules come from. When you talk about angles, an angle is a measurement of the distance between two lines that connect at a vertex, okay? And we're going to talk about some different angle relationships. The first thing we're going to do is draw a horizontal diameter, which splits our circle into 180 degrees in each semicircle. And then we're going to draw a little radius on the top half of the circle. What we've done now is we've created two angles right here. This is angle 1 and angle 2. And if you took their measurements and added them together, I want you to tell Edpuzzle what you think you would get if you added their two measurements together. You would get 180 degrees if you added angle 1 and angle 2 together. That's because they form this straight line right here, and they make up half a circle. So they form that straight line when they're put next to each other, and they make up half a circle. If you ever get two angles that add up to 180 degrees, we call those angles supplementary angles. So that's our first vocabulary word of the day. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So now we're going to talk about a different word. We're going to talk about this circle, 360 degrees, cut it down the middle, horizontal diameter. Now there's 180 degrees in a semicircle. What we're going to do now is draw another diameter perpendicular to that one. We have 4 equal parts of the circle. Each part of that circle now contains 90 degrees. So now these are all right angles. You should have heard that word before. All of these are right angles that are formed in all the corners of these circles, and they all equal 90 degrees. If you drew a line in one corner of the circle, then again you've created two angles, angle 3 and angle 4. If you took angle 3 and angle 4 and added them together, what do you think you would get? Tell Edpuzzle what you think you would get. That's right, you would get 90 degrees if you added angle 3 and angle 4 together. Whenever that happens, you have two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Those are said to be called complementary angles. So two angles that add up to 90 degrees are called complementary angles. We've learned another vocabulary word now. So you got supplementary angles. Those are two angles that add up to 180. They form a straight line. Two angles that add up to 90 and form a right angle are called complementary angles. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about one last vocabulary word. So we're going to draw two different diameters. We're going to kind of make an X. And we're going to call these angles that are formed angle 5 and 6, 7 and 8. Okay? Look at angle 5 and angle 7. Now that we've created these angles, tell Edpuzzle what you notice about them. Now look at angle 6 and angle 8. Tell Edpuzzle what you notice about them too. Those are called vertical angles. So angle 5 and angle 7 are called vertical angles. Those are angles that are across from each other. So angle 5 and angle 7, they are directly across from each other, across from this vertex. Angle 6 and angle 8 are also directly across from each other. Whenever you have two vertical angles, their measurements are congruent. Their measurements are equal. So whenever you have vertical angles, their measurements are equal. And angle 5 and 7 are vertical, angle 6 and 8 are vertical. So they're across the vertex from each other. Okay, here's the last thing we're going to do. Okay, we're going to talk about one more vocabulary word. So this angle to the right, ABC. This is angle ABC. I know this looks kind of like a less than sign, but that is the math icon used for an angle. This is angle ABC. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line from point B through D. So now we've formed two angles within angle ABC, angle 9 and angle 10. So in total, there are two different angles right here, ABD and DBC. Okay, think about this for a second. If I told you the measures of angle 9 and the measure of angle ABC, could you find the measure of angle 10? Tell Edpuzzle what you think. Now think about it again. If I told you the measure of angle 9 and told you the measure of angle 10, could you find the measure of ABC? Tell Edpuzzle what you think. What we have here are what are called adjacent angles. They're called adjacent angles because they share a common vertex. This is their common vertex. And they are next to each other. So because they share a common vertex and they're right next to each other, they're called adjacent angles. The rule is that the big angle, angle ABC, is really equal to the two other angles added next to each other, the measure of angle 9 and the measure of angle 10. So when I say M angle 9, that just means measure of angle 9 plus the measure of angle 10 equals the measure of ABC. So we talked about supplementary angles, complementary angles, vertical angles, and adjacent angles. Let's put them all again in this chart. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to be 180 degrees. They form a straight line. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to be 90 degrees. They form a right angle. Vertical angles are two angles that are across from each other, across the vertex from each other, and they are equal. And adjacent angles are just two angles that are next to each other. Whenever I use the word congruent, I mean equal, two angles that are equal. So now we've taken all that information and put it in that chart, okay? That's the notes for today, guys, is identifying some special angle relationships. We're going to do a whole lot more with those vocabulary words, so it's very, very important that you learn them and memorize them because we're going to do a whole lot more of them for the rest of the unit. So far in the unit, great job. Remember, of all the students I've ever taught, you are one of them. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours. Thanks.